Oh yes, we're glad you're still with us. For those that went with us into the break, if you are just joining us, this is Morning at NTV, and you'll find us at the segment Kickstarter, where we are discussing the topical issue of the day. And of course, we come on the backdrop of President Museveni speaking to the nation, but not in a State of the Nation address. What happened yesterday was a response to an invitation by the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Anita Among, to the President so he could interact with members of Parliament. Within the Constitution, that is Article 101, subsection 2, the President can visit a Parliament and be able to speak to members of Parliament, but in the discourse that it was, national matters are always what is on the lips of the head of a state. So what did he say? What were the misses? Did he meet the expectations of those that had anticipated that particular delivery of speech? In the studio this morning, I'm joined by Godber Tumushabe, the Associate Director at the Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies. For those that are in those circles, it's GLIS. There's a lot of gloss to that word. And of course, we're also joined by Captain Francis Babu, a seasoned political commentator and a senior citizen. A very warm welcome to the program, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Very good. It's a very chilly morning, but rain is blessing.
Rain is a blessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It cleans all that, is that?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Oh,
Yeah.
Within the context, the context of Kampala as a capital city, does rain clean?
No, rain comes from up. And it cleans the air.
Okay,
You know, it's a formation of water and ice, and you get clouds. They bring the water.
That's right.
The water cleans. So all the bad things. I mean, we have a lot of dirt here in the air. So it cleans it removes the pollution.
okay. All right, that's a nice one. I was looking at it in terms of business persons and owners of buildings within the city who use the advantage of rain to release effluent and bad matter into the channels.
That
and
would be a nice topic for another day.
All right,
the city.
interesting there. I love the fact that we have you two gentlemen who are acclaimed thinkers, first of all. But as you came into the studio, I saw Captain holding a book, Building Social Business, the New Kind of Capitalism That Serves Humanity's Most Pressing Needs by Muhammad Yunus. The President yesterday spoke about the economy. He has always been very, very emphatic when it comes to economic transformation. Muhammad Yunus's work builds on empowering communities at the lowest levels. In a way, the two men might be thinkers alike. Do you agree?
No, not yet. Muhammad Yunus is a professor of a university in Chittagong University in Bangladesh. He was in a country where they had the problems were virtually about the same as ours. The government was wallowing in this modern way of capitalism. In fact, in South Korea, they have something here called the sunshine credit, which comes more or less on the same basis. Now, as the president said at one point, that the world today is divided into what do you say? What do you call it? Is divided into the middle class and the skilled labor. That's the international community.
All right, Captain, just a moment. I seem to be having a little bit of miscommunication here, but let me just go to the background out there, run a story before we continue with this particular discussion. It's very interesting, no doubt.
The footage.
But yeah, let me just run a story here so that we can get a little bit of a background and a thrust to the conversation.
One by one, some in groups, the members of Parliament entered the Kololo ceremonial grounds for the special session of Parliament addressed by President Museveni. Members of the opposition were a no-show except for the Shadow Minister for Public Service, Atkins Katushabe, and the MP for Bukoto South, Twaha Kagabo, of the National Unity Platform.
Perhaps they have personal intents, but for me, as far as I'm concerned, this is a parliamentary sitting which I'm entitled to, and even the people I represent in Bukoto South.
The leader of our opposition, he left a window that's going to be upon individual members to decide to either to show up or not to show up. So my conscience was telling me that this was a meeting worthy attending.
President Museveni addressed the members of parliament on two issues: the parish development model, which he spent most of the speech on, and briefly on homosexuality. He agreed with the MPs on their findings contained in a report which the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, furnished him with, highlighting stifling bureaucracies that limit accessibility to the funds by intended beneficiaries and corruption.
This 131 billion is not properly accounted for, because each parish was supposed to get 17 million. But according to what the Speaker sent me, some got 7, some got 10. So where did the other money go? But don't worry, Uganda is here. We shall get you.
All the same, he called for patience in the implementation of the development program, away from the suggestion that it should be remodeled.
On this occasion, so please, now don't start talking of changing modes. Don't talk about changing modes. This is their money. We must insist on that mudukanye ekibiina kyamwe kya SACCO operate.
The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, appears to have triggered Museveni's remarks about homosexuality, but he didn't take sides.
This deviant, is he deviant by nature or by nurture? We need a medical opinion on that. We shall discuss it thoroughly. The Western countries should stop wasting the time of humanity by trying to impose their practices on other peoples.
Members of Parliament who listened in silence, as dictated by the law, largely showed disappointment with the address which they argued did not tackle the most pressing issues.
I expected him to hit on the matter of iron sheets. Those who stole, they are thieves. And we expected him to hint on that matter.
But the message about PDM is a long term. There are some pressing issues now that the person should have addressed. Poverty levels, because of COVID, people are suffering. So the issue of workers' money, NSSF workers' money, should have come to his message.
And the issues of security. He has not mentioned about how we have deployed in Congo and how in Chisoro people, and now we cannot trade with DRC.
I expected the president to discuss about the economy deeply because we have issues. I thought he's going to also tell us about his recent trip in Algiers, because a lot has been said in terms of success and the benefit to this country. So I thought he was going to touch those things.
Then the other thing is the homosexuality, which we don't support, and he has also hinted on it very well, and we shall support him to ensure that we fight it in Uganda and also support his objective of fighting it completely.
A window of opportunity could, however, still be available, as Museveni told the MPs that they could address him privately on the issues of concern for discussion at a separate fora. Jackson Onyango, NTV at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds.
Many thanks, Jackson Onyango, for that report, of course, that came in after the president had spoken to the country. Reactions there from members of parliament that attended, of course, highlighting something that is peculiar when the president speaks to the country. He never seems to meet the expectations of each and everyone. But of course, you cannot meet each and everybody's expectations. We began earlier, and we would like to extend our apologies for a little bit of a hitch in the sound quality that was coming through. We are now ready to go. And in the studio this morning, I'm joined by Godber Tumushabe, the Associate Director at the Great Lakes Institute for Strategic Studies, that is GLIS. I'm also joined by Captain Francis Babu, seasoned political commentator and senior citizen. You heard the members of parliament speaking. There was one who seemed to agree entirely with what you said earlier about the fact that the president should have tackled exclusively the economy. Yeah, you see, we must look at what happens in the country.
strategically.
Yeah.
What brought President Museveni yesterday was the economy. Let me be very frank with you. Although he went into the details by giving us the history of social economic transformation, the metamorphosis of human beings, going all the way through the system, the communism, capitalism, and so on and so forth.
The president loves a lecture.
Yeah, he was trying to bring you to the economy.
Yeah.
Now, today, economy, and I think we should listen to other people also sometime. One of the biggest things you should check with the economy, what is our reserve now? The reserve we have is $3.6 billion.
Yeah.
It's only able to keep us going for 4 months. Where is the money coming from? How are you able to sustain? What are we selling outside this country?
That's right.
Where are we getting the money? So the economy is the key to everything else that we are going to do. Now, if you're talking about cleaning up the house, that's a different argument. We can do that anytime. We're talking about, here people are interested in corruption, they're interested in what is going on, in normal day-to-day running of the, cleaning the house, if you like. But now, the economy, to me, is very pressing, and people have not realized that. When you hear, where is our money going to come from? Because he made one statement, which I thought was very good, if it can be done, that we would like to multiply our economy to 10 times to what it is in so many years. Now, if that is the vision, can we do it? Now, that's where the argument comes in. And he went through all this, and he talked about social entrepreneurship, which a lot of people, it's a new thing, by the way.
Yeah.
And a few people have done it around the world. It has been successful. And then, of course, when you do it, it has had side effects. And those are the things people were talking about. You know, we wanted to know about this corruption and all that. Now, the management of social credit, the one he's talking about, where we are having things like, you know, they mentioned several of them, ENTA and Equire Plan of Modernization of Agriculture, NADS, OWC, PDM, Youth Fund, Women Fund, MYOGA, and so on and so forth. These are all trials to try and stimulate the economy of the poor. Now, these are mitigating factors which is supposed to stimulate the economy. Now, if we have not done it very well, now that's an argument he was now talking about, that he went to Gulu in Acholi, and he went to supervise and find out by himself, why is this thing not moving very well? When actually, when you look at it, if it is done very well, it could stimulate this economy. And I think this is where it becomes very important. If the economy is stimulated, then cleaning the house becomes, you know, very important. We need also money to clean the house. Now, you talk about corruption, which definitely is there. I'm not refusing, but how do we handle it also? Now, a lot of people, oh, I'm not listening to the president. No, you've got to listen. You know why? Because he's the one who comes out with the economic policy of this country. Whether you like it or you don't like him, he is the one who says, if we do this, if we do this, we are going to get out of the hole. Because as far as I'm concerned, the economic hole is big. Now, I listened to one of the president of East Africa talking. He said he was talking to one of his neighbors who came and said they're having problem with their economy. Their debt is 70%. It's the biggest in East Africa. And 70% ratio I'm talking about. Now, they wanted the other country to help them. And this president was saying, you see, if you play around with your economy, you reach a point when you need other people to help you. And the biggest problem now is actually fuel. And President Museveni mentioned it in passing, that the COVID and this war in Ukraine has created a new world order. He said it very casually, but it is very, very important that our economy has to be worked on, and very quickly. Now, to be able to have that economy going, you need integrity in our people. You need meritocracy. We need the people who have got merit to be in the system. You need also to have people who are pragmatic. And then we need one word, which he brought towards the end, honesty in what we do. Now, all these things are very, very important for the economy. Now, these other things people are talking about, I agree entirely. They need to be tackled, but they cannot be mixed with the economy. They've got to come up and say, this thing is happening. One of the reasons why we are not doing very well in the economy is because we are not implementing and implementation is being destroyed by this corruption we have in the country. Whether it starts from his office or whether it is because when he was in the Far East, I think he went. Was it Vietnam? He went to Vietnam. Or was it Cambodia? One of those two. Yeah. But I think it was Vietnam. He said that there are people in my office who want to be given a bribe to make an appointment to meet the president. He said it. Yeah. So there's corruption. Now, if you want to deal with the corruption, you cannot mix it at the same time with the economy. Come out with a complete program and talk about corruption.
Thank you, Captain. Godber, Tumushabe, I see you have two things to react to: the president's speech and Captain Francis Babu's submission.
Okay, right. No, first of all, let me say, maybe start with one thing where I probably agree with the president, and I think Captain Francis here, that the fact that the president has tried to be repetitive on this whole question of transformation.
That's right.
Because I think where we are now as a country, we really need that energy that can move this country in terms of economic transformation. And you know, transformation of the economy essentially means that you are adopting new means of production. The greatest percentage of your wealth as a country is coming from new modes of production, which is basically industry, services, and the knowledge economy. The other aspect of economic transformation is that the labor force is moving from low productive sectors, low productive sectors, to higher productive sectors. That most of the economies that have transformed, that even when they are agricultural, you find that agriculture is contributing less and less to GDP as other sectors take over. But actually the volume of agricultural production does not decline. It's the labor force that has moved to other productive sectors. So as
agriculture gets mechanized.
On that point, I totally agree with the president. I immediately felt uncomfortable when he started talking about his disciples, because you see, he presented himself as a Messiah. I am the Messiah who is preaching this message of transformation. And I think that my discomfort was the fact that then he looked at these politicians seated in front of him and said, you should be the disciples. In my mind, I was like, if the president is serious, that is significant policy shift, because President Museveni's posture for the last almost 2 decades has been the private sector are the disciples. And I think that's where it should be, that the investments that we make as a country should enable us to multiply those people who are engaged in the private sector, doing business. And that is why your point of social enterprise comes in. Because social enterprise is more or less like UNICEF was trying to find the middle ground between the socialism and capitalism. Social enterprise gives capital a human face, that you are able to, you are pursuing profit, but the profit you are pursuing is to transform people. So for me, that was like at the core of what he said. At a broader level, and you see, I thought that he also misrepresented what he was doing, because he said the speaker had invited the president,
according to reports,
to interact with MPs. No, you see, the interaction means that you are having a conversation. When you come and discuss, that's not an interaction.
That is not one.
No. My expectation normally of the president coming to address parliament is that you are giving a policy speech.
Sure.
You are articulating policy. And yes, he highlighted the number of programs that government has engaged in, all these different programs. Many of them haven't changed a lot, but I think my view is always like, okay, there is always something new that you want to say, because I think, Captain, I would disagree with you a bit, that I don't think that the president should be coming to parliament to repeat what he has said. No, every time he comes, there must be something additional that you are saying.
There's something new.
If you address the nation in the State of the Nation address, and you talked about Myoga and PDM and Women Enterprise Fund and whatever, when you come next time, even if you repeat them, then you need to be able to say, so what is addition? Is there a shift in the policy posture of government that makes the things work?
Let me just interject there. The need for a demonstration of a policy shift. The captain spoke about integrity, honesty, and pragmatism that is needed on the part of the people who you've ably said are the disciples now, because of the president seeming to come from the private sector and look at those who are seated before him, the politicians. He has ably said just 2 weeks ago that leaders need to begin to give direction to the people, seemingly saying that that has not been the case.
But you see Francis tried to separate the economy from the things that actually make the economy work. So you cannot have economic transformation if you have an inherently corrupt system. Corrupt in terms of stealing money, in terms of rigging everything. Because you see, when you look at our political service, the majority of those MPs you saw in Parliament came through corruption. These are people who buy votes.
Amazing.
They are people who rig. So if you look at them, and you'll see, you can point some of them. I know, if I was allowed to just mention a few people that I know that have been doing transformation, I follow the work being done by Dixon Kateshumba of Shema. If you think of the work that he has done with building a cooperative that has raised millions of money, this local capital mobilization, then you say, this is something that where are these people that we are doing? I think the other colleague that I can mention that I follow is Wilson Kajwenje from Nyabushozi. These are MPs that have programs. And they are not directly connected to PDM and whatever and all these other programs. They basically come with business ideas and then mobilize people within their constituencies on how to do business. So the president probably needs to be even finding those kinds of MPs within the overall congregation of 529 and people say, now I have picked my disciples. They are going to drive this agenda. I don't think that the preaching that he did yesterday to 529 MPs is going to all of a sudden transform them into disciples. I guess the point I want to emphasize is that with economic transformation, there is need for leadership. And I think that's one other point where I agree with him. Because when he looked at those MPs, he said, you need to lead.
All right.
But I think, as Francis said, whether they will lead is a different...
Captain Francis Babu, the president continues to appeal to thieves not to steal. He even threatens them that they will get problems because they are stealing money. The president's language seems to bolster the thieves' ability to steal again because they don't see any threats in that.
You know what is interesting? You asked me a very good question. What do you think about the presidential speech? And I told you it was an economy. Now you want to get the nuts and bolts of that. Let me tell you, I do not agree with the method of implementation of these programs. The implementation of what he has suggested is not working because of the system. And the system has to be overhauled. Now, when you say the president is distancing himself, I don't know what you're talking about, because the president sits on top of a cabinet. A cabinet brings about policy. There are policies in this country. There are, every time all of you are coming back to the word corruption, I agree with you. But say one thing at a time. So yesterday he was talking about the economy and the problems in that economy. Now, if you want us to talk about corruption, please, let's have a debate on corruption. I am not refusing, but you are mixing the two issues. Now, you bring an economy and you want to implement certain things in that economy. And now I say, Mr. President, the route you have taken to implement microcredit is not good. And I'll tell you the reasons why. Because you do not have a force of good implementation. And when you went to Gulu and Acholi, you actually found out the people are telling you, your people are not implementing what you have suggested. Now you are saying that the president should now get out there with the whip and
a sledgehammer.
A sledgehammer. Yes. But this man, through his policy in the cabinet and the government, he has set up institutions that are supposed to fight corruption. And the same institutions have also got problems. Now, yeah, you know, all of you want us now to discuss that. That seems to
inevitably, we cannot get ourselves out of the rut.
Let's do one thing.
Yeah.
This is what we need to do as government.
Okay.
Then the Captain Babu said, yes, what you're suggesting is very good, Mr. President, but your implementing arm is not good enough. I'm now telling him that, yes, what you're saying, if it was implemented, it would work, it would turn the economy of this country tenfolds the way you want it. That's what the President was saying. Now, he brought the point of the milk, okay, and told you that because of a few things that were done, the milk in this country has increased. Not only increased, it has improved the social well-being of the people who are in that industry. Now, he now says he would like this one also to go to the agriculture and urban centers. Right? Now, then I tell him, yes, Mr. President, what you're saying is very good. But I don't think the system that you're using, the PDM, the parish model, the different things that you're using, and the people who have been in, there is a common denominator on all of them. And the common denominator is that government itself, through its system, cannot implement these very good policies that you have brought. Now, this is where the argument is. Why can't we implement them? Now you talk about leaders. Yeah? Automatically, the leaders do not implement. They come out with a policy and they discuss it and they give it to implementers. Now, you guys, for example, the member of parliament in his constituency has got several parishes.
That's right.
The people they have brought to implement the parish model are chiefs and the Gombora, the sub-county. Now, the leader you are talking about is supposed to be in parliament and at the same time go and teach his people what these programs are all about. Now, for us to discuss now leadership, which is another topic. We talk about leadership as a topic, a very interesting thing, and I'll give you an example. I was born in a village. On our village, we had family homes. And among those families, there were people who were respected as leaders in that community, who were not elected. But every time we had a function, they would say, hey, you have not gone to call my brother so-and-so. So-and-so is not here. Those were natural leaders. Today, we've adopted a system where people have found a way to become leaders when they are not leaders, which you are now talking about. So,
wow.
Yeah, so we've got to now to sit down and think very carefully. My brother says, oh, he was talking about private sector, but the private sector was with the government. They were supposed to work together, not private sector by itself. Now, let me finish this.
Please do.
It's very important.
Yeah.
There's a Sunshine Project in South Korea where private sector's money with government is brought into that microcredit system. Now, in this country, our private sector is not that buoyant yet, not very strong. So government itself has come into the microcredit. Now, let me tell you why I think as long as it is through the system we have now, that some of these programs will have problems. We need to find another system to implement these very good programs, policies which have been brought. And the man who has written very well about microcredit was this former governor and he's an advisor to the president, the gentleman who was in UCB, Professor, what's his name? I think he's the Vice Chancellor of Makerere.
The Vice Chancellor, that is
Dr. Suruma. Wrote very good things about this. Now, I give you an example. What I think my view would be, a man like Suruma could be given an enterprise, part of government, let him get people to implement these projects. That's where the problem is.
Captain Francis Babu, I must admit, listening to that point of view is also opening up a whole lot of thought patterns in my thinking. But I would love to throw it to Godber, Tumushabe. Compartmentalization of approaches to our problems. Captain says, deal with corruption, talk about economic transformation, talk about leadership. How do we make our way?
Then
First,
connect them.
Connect to them.
At what point do you connect?
Anytime.
Yeah, so this is my point actually, and I really want to fundamentally agree with you, Captain, here on because Uganda's challenges, they are so interlocked that you cannot put them in different boxes.
Yeah.
And I know that we started as early as 1997, we really adopted a policy shift that looks at different things together in the sense that they are interlocked. So the adoption of the Poverty Eradication Action Plan was trying to bring things together and make sure that you have a system that speaks to each other. Even in terms of the economy, when we adopted the plan for modernization of agriculture in 2000, the president launched that plan in August of 2000 because I follow it passionately because of the way it had been organized. That we looked at the economy, we looked at agriculture, and we said there were 7 pillars around which agriculture needed to be built. You know, the National Agriculture Advisory Services system was one of them. So we are supposed to deal with the agro-processing, deal with microfinance or agriculture financing, deals with natural resources management, because we are still a nature-based economy. You cannot engage in activities that disrupt the integrity of your ecological systems, because most of these farmers that we're talking about their activities are dependent on nature. So it's integrated. And then we pick there 1 or 2 things, then you implement them. So, and of course, Captain Francis talked about the leadership. I think that at the core of this country and the economy is the question of leadership. I've heard this narrative that say, oh, Uganda has very good programs. A program is not good until it is implemented. You cannot just say, oh, this plan for modernization of agriculture was good, but then we did not implement it. But if you didn't implement it, then it was not good, because that means the plan was not complete. So the plan is good. The goodness is reflected in how it has been implemented and how it has achieved its objectives. But let me put it. Let me say this. I think that the president coming to Parliament yesterday. Needed to talk about the economy and talk about the economy of the future. So, in other words, he has talked about all these programs that he has superintended over during his government. But I think the challenge for Uganda now is almost generational in terms of the economy. You connect the current, the present, to the future. I think that if the president wanted to give a very inspiring speech, it would be say how the foundations we are building, how do they take us into the economy of the future? Because he talked about, hey, I want this economy to become $10 trillion in some years. But I don't think, I believe that even in his imagination, I don't think that he believes that PDM and the Myoga and whether is what is going to grow the Ugandan economy into a 10 trillion economy, because that's really an imagination that you cannot achieve. If the president wanted to really have a comprehensive articulation of a policy agenda on the economy, as Captain Babu has said, he has been to Vietnam.
Yes.
He has been to South Africa.
Recently, Algeria.
And then recently to Algeria. So he could articulate a foreign trade policy beyond the fact that he says, oh, we are going to trade milk. We have gotten markets for milk. So in other words, in terms of the foreign trade posture, what are those things that we are doing to get our products into those markets is aggressively quoting, which I think is a wonderful idea. But how are we getting there? We've had even, actually, in addition to those countries, I think we even had another conference in DRC, another one, I think, in South Sudan. You know, this is some aggressive marketing, which I think is good. So, in other words, the president should be coming to say, yes, we are doing something here. This is what we are doing as a government to be able to, to penetrate.
What I hear is comprehensive failure of the government and the president himself to craft out how he communicates the very good aspects of business that he's up to. The president ought to use a speech to Parliament, and any other for that matter, to come out in a way that not only shows the critical steps in a very clear way, but most importantly to inspire and lead the nation towards a kind of action that ought to be. Do you see the president sometimes taking things casually?
No. I don't think so. I think it's very serious, actually. The problem we're talking about is mindset change.
He also needs a mindset change.
I think he also needs one.
That's up to you. It's because you people are biased.
I don't think so.
You are so biased
okay,
that sometimes you don't want to listen to reason.
All right.
I've told you, you talked about milk just now, and I'm happy you did. He said in Algeria he got a market for it, right? He's talking to other African countries, and some other countries are fighting us because it is doing very well. Some years ago, our trade with our neighbor in the East, I don't normally use the names, had more things coming to Uganda, and we were doing that. We're not taking.
We weren't taking so
today.
much.
We have actually bypassed. We're now taking more there than they are bringing. And when I heard one of our East African countries going to another country to buy beans and things like that, it made me think twice. If we got, you see, when I said mindset change, all this program, we need also to stop. Even if you don't like the president, which some of you, I'm sure, are excited about, because you use age. But the other day when he went to America, he met his friend, and they were very happy. So I don't see where the problem is.
Captain,
I'm coming.
Very short.
Because you
all
guys,
right, let's go.
Let me tell you, the mindset changes this.
Yeah.
You keep on talking about leadership. Think very carefully. What is the problem with that leadership? That is something we've got to. I'm not saying you should not connect them. I was just giving it to you that when we are talking, when you mix them, sometimes you miss certain points. Now, when you talk about a mindset change, you're talking about those leaders you talked to, that we need a mindset change for this economy. And because the majority of our people are in agriculture, and some of them are in the milk industry, the dairy industry, some of them are fishermen, how do we work with this small group so that we can improve the economy? But it was not 10 trillion, it was talking about $1 trillion.
Yes.
Now, I wanted us to be very careful. First of all, meritocracy. How do we get the right people in the right places? How do we, because those are very important. If you don't have a right person to implement.
But I thought you discounted that, Captain.
No, I'm coming. Then you talk about, you see, when you think pragmatism is about iron sheets, and you think about pragmatism is about homosexual, then you're wasting our time. That thing is there, we have agreed. We must talk about them as topics. But that is house cleaning.
And we shall later.
Yeah, that is house cleaning. Now, let us talk about the economy of this country. Apart from the big economy, which we want, industrialization, we want all these things that are really big. They are moving at a certain pace. We also have got another area which we have to bring up in the economy so that we can improve the overall economy of this country. Now, I'm very, very, very clear that we need honesty in this thing. And the honesty is to our people. Now, when the people he went to when he talked about going to Acholi, and people told him that there's something is wrong because when you bring these things, they don't reach to us. They don't talk to us. And part of PDM is to teach people so that they also have a mindset change. It's getting these young people in the city, for example, who've been borrowing. They go to his NGO, they borrow money. They go to another one, they borrow money. Borrowing has now become a very serious problem. There's also this government that giving people money is also not good.
It's not good.
Yeah, so we need to sort of...
Especially when they don't know how to use the money.
You've got to teach them how to use this money. Now, to me, that mindset change is very, very important. And government should understand. That's why I'm saying, before you implement these projects, and this is what Grameen Bank, which did in Bangladesh, the Sunshine Microcredit in South Korea, they first teach the people, what exactly are we going to do? Why are we giving you money? He says you need 4 acres. The question is, have we found out whether those 4 acres, if well developed, can do this? Another point, when people talk about these things, they don't talk about where the successes are. They only talk about the failure. Now, we should have statistics. Where is the failure and where is some success? I will give you an example. When I was in the Ministry of Education, we started giving people iron sheets, local communities.
Wow.
For us,
at least you delivered them to where they were supposed to be.
No, we had a department. Ministers were not supposed to do that. And they delivered. And when we went back after 6 months, in some part of this country, the schools were up and going. We went to some other country.
In some parts.
Yeah, some parts. And I'm giving you what was. We went to another area, and the guy said, yes, we still have them, but they are in the store there. They had done nothing.
We've kept them very well.
Yeah, we've kept them very well.
Yes.
We went to another group in this country, and they said, we have sold them. We went to another group, says, we didn't have anybody to help us to put up the school. Now, that is a mind problem. How do we make them understand that, listen, government can give you this, but you should be able to provide the labor to put up the other part,
the structures.
The structures. So we need to sit down and also take statistics. Some of these programs, when they have come, is there areas where they have succeeded? If they have succeeded, how have they succeeded? Where they have gone as failures, what was the problem? I understand.
What can we avoid?
What can we avoid? Now, this is where I don't agree with a lot of people in this country. They only pick up where everything has gone wrong. They don't pick up where it has gone right. There are some things that have worked and some things have not worked. It could have done better than what it is now, but we need to sit down and say, what is causing these problems? But because we are so mesmerized by President, Mr. President, you are too old. It's time we need a regime change. This is where the problem is. Whilst you have a system, and I'm serious about it.
I would like to interject there.
So everything that goes wrong, the president, the president. No,
I think this is a misrepresentation.
No, it is not. It is not.
Please take it on.
Yeah, because you see, Captain Babu, when you talk about even the president's leadership of these things, there's a way you talk about them as if the president has just come into town. The president has been around
after 40
for 37 years now, leading this country. While a Captain Babu becoming president today, we are even going to give you probably a lot of grace period in every business. We call it grace period.
Thank you very much. When can I do it?
Yeah, no. Why not? We'll be able to give you a grace period.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, we'll be able to give a grace period.
Not 100 days.
No, not 100 days. But even after 100 days, I will be here assessing, is this man going to where we are going? But the point I wanted to make is that the president has been around for this long.
Good.
And so the reason people are feeling sometimes agitated is like, that moment where you call the fierce urgency of now. The people are feeling the pain.
Yes.
If you think of because I interact with many people in different socio-economic strata.
Yes.
Like now if you see the people who have been struggling to pay fees, because some of them come to you, they come to me, and you feel like this is a lot of pain.
How about hospital?
Then you go to the hospitals and you see the bills that you cover, you and I, and then sometimes when I cover bills of medical bills for my people from my entire circle, then I say, but what about that other Ugandan who cannot do what I do? So I think that there is a fierce urgency of now. And we have a restless population now.
Yes.
Many young people growing into a jobless economy growing, but not creating as many jobs as possible, not creating many opportunities. But sometimes the opportunities may not even be jobs. So I think that when the president talks, he has to be speaking to us, not to himself. Because you see, he can say, if you still but we will catch up with you. The other guy who is feeling the pain is not waiting for you to catch up with the other guy. And I want you to imagine a situation, Captain, that President Museveni today is chairing cabinet. And he's
Friday.
Yeah, I'm just saying, imagine a situation, the president is chairing cabinet, all these ministers who have been running around grabbing iron sheets and now they are in the media, they are seated in front of you.
No, they didn't grab some of the iron sheets, met them at home.
Some of them met them at home. So they are seated in front of you on the round table, on a boardroom table like this.
Yeah.
The other ministers have been dealing with the NSSF. The other ones have been... You imagine that meeting and tell me that those cabinet ministers are going to be discussing with the president to help him on how to implement his economic policy. I think that
yes.
You mentioned the point of meritocracy.
Yeah.
My view is that the president owes it to us.
Correct.
To say, I am putting together a team of people.
Correct. Now
who
you're
must
going in my
run
direction.
the country. And on this, because you see, the president externalizes the problem. Because when it comes to like these ministers who have been involved in these scandals, he says the police should take it, the course. And I'm always like, in public sector management, there are things that are political, there are things that are criminal. The criminal aspects are handled by police. And in fact, when it comes to criminal aspects, the president even has no right to be ordering the police to do things. Because the police, that's its job.
That's right.
The director of public prosecution is not supposed to be taking instructions from the president.
Godber, Tumushabe.
But let me just say 1 second and add, close this. The ministers who have been stealing these iron sheets, he's the one who appointed them. He's the one who brought them to us. If he did not appoint them, they would not even be an issue. And let him deal with them. Let him stop avoiding responsibility and externalizing the problem.
Captain Francis Babu, Godber has given a submission that could be counter to some aspects that you espoused. You could also agree that he understands where the president stands right now. The vast majority of technocrats within government are not incompetent.
Yes.
I would love to be very specific about that.
Yes.
The gentlemen and ladies who are within the civil service are not incompetent.
Correct.
We have the finest minds when it comes to policy design.
Correct.
These people speak to the president interacts with them. He knows where the problem is. They also know where the problem is. The manipulators are there. The president knows that the manipulators are also there.
Manipulators.
Why is the president not strong on doing away with the manipulators?
And I think when we sit here, we are really talking to the president. I'm sure he's watching this program.
Sure, no doubt.
Let me tell you something. I am one of those who are totally against the appointments of some people in political office. First of all, I think the numbers are too big.
Yeah, that's right.
You should not have 80 ministers. No. There should be less than 40 ministers. Both the cabinet and the
assistants. The state
Number one. Number two, I don't agree with this parliament. It's too big for our economy. We should have a parliament of not more than 150 people. Maximum 200.
Absolutely.
Right? Now, if that is what you want me to talk about, that's where leadership comes in.
But again,
I'm coming.
You realize you're on a collusion course with the president.
It doesn't matter. We are Ugandans.
Yeah.
We are telling him what we feel.
Yeah.
As long as I'm not insulting anybody, I am telling you that's one of the problems of not being able to implement.
Yeah.
That's where meritocracy comes in. Are we having people who are qualified? Are we putting the round holes in round holes and not in square holes? Are we doing the right thing? This is the system we're talking about. Mindset change. Small groups that can do the work. And in fact, if they were smaller, they would even get more money, if you like, if that's the argument.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, the civil service has got very well seasoned people who are trained. These people are trained. They enter from university at the lower bottom of the ministry, and they train in there until they reach the level of a permanent secretary. Now, that's why you should not pick a permanent secretary from the street. Should get them into the system. We've got a management institute here where they go for training. So, when you're talking about, that's why I told you, leadership needs to be looked into. It's not a matter of talking to them. you must also have the right people to talk to.
Exactly.
So, you know, when you people, and then there are people, you what did you call them? You say the
manipulator.
The manipulator. Yeah. They manipulate the system. By the way, these people in Luganda, they've got very nice to get to Barogi. In other words, you're going to bewitch the good ones to remove them and put the bad ones. This is the name of the game.
Yeah, interesting.
The cliques that we have in the system. And by the way, all political class. And don't be told it is in one party or the other. No. All of them. And that brings me to the last point. I don't think we know how to use multi-parties.
That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, for another day. Now, that's where we get the leaders from. And this is where the problem is.
I thought these ones come from one party.
No. All of them. All of them. And by the way, Godber, let me tell you, when NRM came, those ones who came with NRM are no longer there. Another group came in.
Exactly,
those groups came from the... It's
a mutation.
We are recycling some very funny characters.
Interesting.
So
a mutation,
the president has a problem. He has to get the right people in the right places to be able to implement this thing so that it can be done. And you are saying one good thing. The president has to get an iron hand.
Yeah,
that's what you people say.
Yes.
Let him get an iron hand.
Yeah, let him do his job.
Let him become a little bit more resilient, and should not allow. And we should have a culture. You mess up, goodbye.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even if you put powder on your face, goodbye.
Godber Tumushabe, are you looking at Captain Francis Babu when he talks about an iron hand, doing away with people who have been seen to be corrupt or stolen? Is it really wishful thinking under the national resistance movement?
No, you know, I've said time and again that our president has had several opportunities because every 5 years he's declared president, he takes oath of office. So every 5 years he has an opportunity to renew his leadership. So he can choose. And I think that for him now, also the problem now is that he's trapped in this whole thing called regime longevity politics. Because as I have said time and again, my reading of him, because I'm a student of politics.
He should stand on his legs.
Yes. My reading of him is that President Museveni's mental programming is that he's a life president.
Yeah.
So when you are doing things to be a life president, there are so many limitations you have. Because you have to reconcile so many constituencies and take on a lot of garbage sometimes because of the things that you want to do. And I believe that the president, when he talks, I believe that he's passionate about this whole idea of transformation. You really feel you feel it in him. But I think his crisis is really the fact that he's trapped himself into a system that Captain Babu talked about, that the system, he can no longer re-engineer it to be able to move the country towards the transformation agenda that he wants. Because you see, given the challenges that we're facing as a country now, the president could have come to yesterday and actually he can even package a number of things in that speech and speak to the country. He could have, he attempted an economic policy speech. My reading is that there were no major new policy initiatives that he announced.
In other words, he failed.
He basically restated what he has said. He could even have made it a social speech. And I am happy that he ignored being dragged into the homosexuality debate. Because you see, this country is being diverted a lot by people who should be doing their jobs. Because like the religious leaders are always crying and say, the president, make a law. You religious leaders, you also pray. That's your job. You teach the morals. Don't shift responsibility.
There's one word which I want him to answer. Hakuna mchezo. In Swahili, hakuna mchezo. There's no playing. Where is hakuna mchezo?
Where is hakuna mchezo?
Where is it?
Hakuna mchezo has pain. You have
hakuna mchezo.
You drill deeper.
Where is it?
When you want things done.
All right. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, you've heard it from Godber Tumushabe and Captain Francis Babu. Reaction to your speech yesterday, and of course everything that was in it. We do hope that the perspective shared shall be able to not only open the eyes of those that are supposed to make the decisions, but also bring about a new change in